episode of Nerds for Life SuperCoach. I'm your host, Peter. And before we begin with how my team did for the week, please make sure to subscribe, like us on all the socials, on X. You can see this if you're watching this on YouTube. Here's the X. As you can see, Nerds for Life SC. We've got, as I said, subscribe on YouTube. Facebook, we're on Facebook. And then, oh my god, Facebook's lagged a little. TikTok, as well as Instagram and Spotify, if you're listening to this on Spotify. By the way, I'm going to drop in the description below the Public League, which you can still join. I will be giving a shout out to the weekly winner every week, which reminds me to do that this week. So there it is. I was going to forget, but now I've kind of remembered as I was bringing out my spiel. I only played one game this week because all the other ones start round 2 in my head-to-heads, but I did have a decent score. I'll rattle off where I went for the week before I go into what I'm doing and what you should consider doing as well. 2,142 was my score. Not too bad. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't horrible. Much better than last season. Who was our weekly group winner, actually? Let's go down to Nerds for Life SuperCoach. And it was... Total score was Bex FC by Jax. 2,297. Congratulations. Who did they have? They had Tom Stewart in defence, Amon, Roberts, Frazier, DeConning, Pryor. That's an interesting defence. Leaks, whopping 13 on the bench, and trainer. Their captain was Cherry with 122. He had DeConning. Decent midfield in Brayshaw, Dawson, and Rosie. Oliver Chera for Callahan. O'Sullivan, Satsis. Not bad team, actually, overall. There were a Bailey Smith owner in the forward line, as well as McRae, Horn Francis, and Daniel, Kako, Davidson, and Ashcroft. Decent team. A lot of PODs there, a lot of risks, and it has so far paid off, and a decent bench as well. So good on you, Jax, for a good start to the season. Now, going back to my team. So, I've started the season with a rank of 24,710, which I don't mind. I don't mind, and I'll explain why. And that is because I think my team didn't reach anywhere near its potential. I think I had a lot of players do okay. So my defense, I started off with Harry Sheasel, which went at 106. Not too bad, but I can see at least 10 points on average added to his game. You got Whitfield, fantastic. Annoying that he's missing this week, but he'll be my loop option in order to get my VC on the field. And then you got Jai Clark, 107. I can see 10 points added to his average too. Matt Roberts, probably another 5 points added to his average as well. He went 95. Ben Patton, he's going to be the frustrating one with a 43. Trainer with a 50. So I'm hoping that's hopefully their flaws. My rookies didn't really pop off, which was annoying. And then I got Zach Reed and I got O'Connell in defence. I was tossing it between Leak or O'Connell, and I went O'Connell, and I cannot believe that I actually benefited off that because Leak shat the bed. Lockie Neal, fucking hell, 41 was absolutely disgusting. James Jordan destroyed him. That was frustrating to watch. Brayshaw did okay. Rosie did fantastic. Oliver did okay. Chera did well, but not that great. Sullivan didn't do great. Satsis didn't do great. Came home strong, but started poorly. Hasty, Camporelli, and Henderson did what they needed to do for my bench positions. I'm okay with all of them, especially Henderson, basement price player. Dawn and DeConning did well. Did great, sorry. Boyd did well enough, but he did have the ruck roll, the number 1 ruck roll. Horn Francis is pretty average, was tagged, and he's about to play Richmond. There are currently 1,523 coaches that have traded him out. That is stupid. Just before he's about to play the Tigers at Richmond in a bounce-back game where they need to win. Honestly, I could see him going 120 easy in this game as Rosie, and we'll go to captain and vice-captain picks later, but holy shit, do not trade out Jason Horn-Francis if you started him just before he plays Richmond in Adelaide. Isaac Rankin did fantastic. That was great. McRae, fantastic. Daniel was a bit meh. Kako, look, as my my F5. I didn't hate it. Davidson was disgusting. And Sammy Lawler, what a game. Rising star, he's my flex, and I'm really glad that I started him. I actually traded him out of my team. So I was sitting at the pub just before the game. I went and watched the game live, and I actually traded him out of my team just before the game started. And then I looked at my squad to get Flynn in, and I'm like, nah, I hate it. And I took Flynn out, and I put Lawler back in. I know that Flynn scored better than Lawler, but I don't know. I just, as a Richmond man, I much prefer to see Lawler out there, and I'm really glad that I brought him in. We've got some injury news and some suspension news too. Aiden Johnson was my POD rookie that I started. Scored a 60, was okay. I was kind of hoping he'd play this week against North. Unfortunately, he has been suspended for 1 week. Almost basement price. He scored a 60. It's okay. He'll be back next week. I think that he's in their best 22. And Elijah Hewitt did enough at 52. I'm actually tempted to start him on the field this week. I'm just waiting for team selection. So, there's been a few players that are in and out. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of people freaking out. There's a big missing player that I have, and that is Bailey Smith. And there's also one disgustingly horrible start to the year was Lachie Neale. Now, he's not going to be facing James Jordan again. I can see that there's a lot of people that are already trading out Lachie Neale, and I just want to kick it off with there are almost 5,000 people that have traded out Lachie Neale already. He is about to play West Coast, who are shit. Both Rao and Anderson ran rings around West Coast. His last 3 games against the Eagles are 143, 142, and a 123. He also goes up against Geelong, who do not tag, and then he goes up against Richmond next, and then he goes up against the Bulldogs. Okay? Collingwood, St Kilda, Gold Coast, North Melbourne. Give me a moment while I take a sip of my drink. Do not trade him out after one shit game. That is dumb. Do not do that. He could easily go 150 against West Coast. Do you think that he is going... This is a dual Brownlow medalist. This is a guy that was completely shut out of the game last week. There is no way this guy is not bouncing back. And then, hypothetically, if he doesn't bounce back and he shits the bed, fantastic. Right? Because then I can trade him out and I can easily get the guy that I am missing from my team, which sticks out. It sticks out who I'm missing from my team. And I had him for most of preseason. And by the way, I just want to point out that Chris Scott and Patrick Dangerfield, I just want to say fuck you guys for absolutely lying and to all of us on radio again. I don't understand why Geelong do this. Geelong, they like to keep things secret. They like to pretend that they're just not doing things or pretend... Like last year they had, and the year before where they were not giving us the rough time expectancy for injuries and stuff like that. They're just so... You're just shit. Just stop being shit. You're cheating in the salary cap. You're just going on in the media and you're just talking shit. You don't want to tell us how injured your players are. Just stop being dickheads. Okay? Just stop being dickheads. Okay? You're fucking it up for all the super coaches. Anyway, I didn't start Bailey Smith. I do want Bailey Smith. But I have so many avenues to get Bailey Smith next week. He's not going up in price. We don't know. Bailey Smith could get injured this week. It's like, that's the reality of it. So, for me, I'm just going to wait a week, see what happens. I actually don't see too many alarm bells in my side personally. I'm going to go through some rookies in a moment, and I'll explain why I don't see alarm bells. I mean, Bailey Smith, yeah, I understand why almost 15,000 people have brought him in. He's got DPP, 389k. He is a really good player. Okay, he is a really good player when he's playing in the right role, which apparently he is now, that we've seen it. But he's also the kind of player that you can wait for. Yeah, he's probably going to score well this week. Great. But if you've started Lachie Neale's probably going to play well this week, and you don't have to burn a trade to do it. Unless you've got a gaping hole in your side, like a Perryman that is probably trade out Perryman. Or Darcy Cameron didn't look amazing, for example. those kind of guys. Or Pal Pepper, if you can go up from Pal Pepper to Bailey Smith, let's just say you've got some cash, whatever. That's great. That's fantastic. I'm all for that. But if you're trading out Jason Horne-Francis or Lachie Neale, who could very much be keepers in their respective lines, just before they play West Coast and Richmond, I think you're actually going to disappoint yourself in the long run. I don't like it just yet. I would very much... if Jason Horne-Francis does not do well against the Tigers, or Lachie Neale does not do well against West Coast, then, yeah, trade him out for Bailey Smith next week. I won't even think twice. I will do it. 100%. That's fine. But trading out a premium player who's not injured, especially when they're about to play probably the two bottom teams of the competition, let's be honest, just doesn't scream great move to me. It just sounds silly. And I personally will not be doing it as a result. As I said, there are a few moves that I do plan on making, but first, let's go into some of the rookies that we should really be looking at, as well as some players that we should keep on our radar. One other player I just want to mention in the mid-price range, and that is Adam Chera. Now, I started him. He was amazing first half, and then disappeared from the game. Was actually moved to a half-back role, and apparently has been playing with the defenders training with the defenders this week. That is scary because I picked him up as a midfielder, not as an average halfback. So seeing Adam Chera potentially being a halfback is concerning. Now, I personally think that either Walsh or Cripps will be tagged if there is a tag. His break-even 60, so he's going to make you cash regardless. So keep an eye. I'm not trading him out by any means, especially after a 106. But hypothetically, he plays halfback all day this week against the Hawks and looks dreadful, then maybe here's my opportunity to get Bailey Smith. Just something to think about, especially for the guys that did start Adam Chera. But to consider, he also plays West Coast in round 5 and North Melbourne in round 6, which is probably one of the reasons why I started Adam Chera, was because he played Richmond, North Melbourne and West Coast in the first 6 games of the year. So if you have started him, don't trade him out yet, but do keep an eye out on him. Finn Callahan was amazing. I just want to get Finn Callahan. Look, I would be all over this guy. He's got a negative 2 break even. He's 441k. He started off round 0 on fire with 144 and followed it up with a 104, and that's with Tom Green back in the team. He's got a bye this week, but then he plays Hawthorn, West Coast, and St Kilda after that, who he doesn't have an amazing record against, but that's because he was playing a different role. He was playing on the wing. Now he's playing as an inside midfielder. He's beefed up. He looks good. He is someone to definitely consider as your first upgrade because he's so fucking cheap. Like, if you can get the cash and get Finn Callahan after his bye, I don't mind it. For me, I still want Noah Anderson myself. Noah Anderson was a guy that I've had looking into my preseason, 574k. He did go at 136 against West Coast. He's also got North Melbourne and Richmond in his first 6 games too. He's one that I can really see having a massive season, but that bye this week is annoying. So if you could find the cash to bring him in next week, great. But this is why I'm holding guys like Lachie Neale and Jason Horne-Francis, is because there's no price rises until next week. Hypothetically, Neale shits the bed and Horne-Francis doesn't do well again, which I highly doubt. I highly doubt both those guys don't go 120 this week. But hypothetically, they do. They go 80-something. I am not opposed to dropping Neale to Anderson after his bye and Horne-Francis to Callahan. I'm really not opposed to doing that. I'm just not. I think that I could see myself doing it. Or a Bailey Smith as well. So I think, guys, don't start fucking around with your teams. Especially, people are trading out Lachie Whitfield. 767 people are trading out Lachie Whitfield after a 128. You knew he had a bye this week. Why did you start him? I don't understand why you're trading out Lachie Whitfield. You knew. Just wait the week. That's it. That is it. Alright, that's my rant. Done and dusted. Now, let's go to... we're going to go trade. I want to talk about some rookies. Okay. So, what am I doing? Oh my god. Hang on. While I fuck around with my team, I just want to bring in some rookies onto screen. Lowest price. Okay. So we've got a few rookies that could potentially be looked at, of course. Now, is this all flex? Is this every player? I think it is every player. I believe it's every player. Yeah, it is every player. Great. So let's go down to the first rookie, and that is Harry Boyd. If you do not have Harry Boyd in your team, please do try your best to get him. He is definitely the best R3 option. Marshall did go down with some knee soreness throughout the game. He was the number one ruckman for the day. He had significantly more hitouts than what Rowan Marshall did. Rowan Marshall actually started forward. Yes, he only scored a 63, but he's only in 58% of teams. So that means there are 42% of teams that do not have Harry Boyd. And if you are one of those teams, I don't mind bringing in Harry Boyd this week because you only have maximum of 3 trades with a boost next week. Or do we get 4 because of the bye? Either way, you don't have enough trades next week to bring in all the correction players. I myself am only really looking at 2 players next week. So I can afford to not make a trade this week, which is probably the way I'm going. But Harry Boyd, definitely someone to consider. The other one is Jack Henderson, another basement midfielder, scored a 55, is a mature body player, actually looks really good. He's only in 6.9% of teams. If you have gone heavy in your defensive bench and you've gone with Draper or you've gone with Langford, who didn't do as well, and we'll get to them, I don't mind trading in Jack Henderson to maximize the amount of cash. I just don't think going early on a rookie is a good idea. And I'll give you an example. Last year, I got the Gibcus in. I started Gibcus and I got the Gibcus injury. And then I went 1 week early to bring in Caulfield because of Gibcus injury. But it was a week before Caulfield's bubble. Caulfield got injured that week and didn't play for the next 12 rounds. Okay? And it fucked my season. It's one of the things that fucked my season. So I'm not going early on any rookies because the reality is, and this is just my opinion, but the reality is, you could bring in a Will Ashcroft this week. You could bring in Nathan O'Driscoll this week. But what happens if they get injured this week? What happens if the guy you've traded out, like a Finn O'Sullivan or at Satsis, goes nuts? You know, you started these guys for a reason. What happens if this is the week that they go nuts? Trading off 1 week never ends well. The people that dumped Nick Martin last year after round 1, right? He turned up the following week. You know, Hayden Young, I think the same thing. You know, Fish was another good example. A lot of people traded Fish out and then had to trade Fisher back in. I was one of them. You started your team for a reason, and unless there's like Pal Pepper, just trade out. Like just leave that one. That one, he scored 17. He played most of the game. Just that one is trade him out. Okay, you've got better options. But unless there's a screaming reason as to why you need to trade out your player, I'm totally fine with waiting for 1 more week of data. But Jack Henderson should be on your watch list. Lucas Camporelli actually had a good game, had 20 disposals. He's in almost 50% of teams, scored a 56, not great, didn't have great disposal efficiency, and the Blues lost. So I don't mind him still. I wouldn't be destroying my team to get him, but if you have him, I wouldn't be freaking out. I would just be holding him. Then we scroll down. Let's take a look. Aiden Johnson is now, because of the 1 week suspension, you wouldn't be bringing him in this week, and he actually goes on his bubble not next week but the week after. So that's a decent trade in potentially for 2 weeks' time. I did start him, so that's why he's in my team. I actually don't personally mind the pick. Harry Armstrong, I wouldn't be bringing in. He scored a 38. I can't see that changing. Tom Lynch is suspended this week, which means they're going to start. He's going to have more attention on him, and as a Richmond fan, I wouldn't be bringing him in. Luke Traynor looked great, by the way, in defence. I can't believe he only scored a 50, and it is because of his disposal efficiency, unfortunately. But Richmond were actually actively looking for him when coming out of defence. So he cleans up that disposal efficiency a little bit, and that could be a 70-75 score, which is not bad. I'm actually going to have him on field still. Luke Traynor is someone, if you're looking at it for a defender, and you haven't started him, definitely someone who I would be considering. Riley Bice, he scored a 52. His price change isn't until next week as well. Frustrating player because I actually traded him out when I heard he was sub for O'Connell, who I paid more for, by the way, by 6k. And he scored more in like half a game than what O'Connell did, and he also scored more than Patton, who was subbed out. So that's kind of annoying. But if hypothetically Patton is out, I know that we haven't gotten to Patton yet. He's got DPP. Now this guy's 26 years old. Remember, he has played. He's got some like over 70 games of experience with the St Kilda. Apparently, Cox does rate him because of his durability and the way that he can play in multiple positions. So I think that if he's not dropped, you just keep Patton. However, if Patton is dropped, I am considering going early on O'Reilly Bice potentially, but then he misses next week anyway, so you're not going to get him during your price rise until the following week. So hypothetically, Riley Bice does well this week. Patton's dropped. He misses round 3, which means he's not going to go up in value to round 4, so you can actually wait for him for your round 4 trade-ins, but definitely want to keep an eye on. Sam Davidson, disgusting. Josh Doolan, don't even worry about him. Don't even bother. Sam Davidson, hold him. Don't. He's again, almost basement price, but, I wouldn't be, tearing my team apart to get him either. Scored a whopping 39. Zach Reed, look, if you didn't start him, I would be fading him. I never thought he would be a top scorer. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go with his score this week, so fingers crossed he does a little bit better. But it's best 18 anyway. I doubt that he's going to make the best 18. He's in 66% of teams. He's got the job security, provided he stays fit. One to keep an eye on, I suppose, if you need a defensive downgrade. Going all the way down, Max Gruzorski scored a 1 point. Just don't bother with him. James Leake scored a whopping 13. He's most likely going to be dropped and gets a bye, so he's a no for me. Does have a pretty low break even though, but still gross. Don't be picking him. Then you go down to Connor Stone. To be honest, I know that he's in almost 30% of teams. I actually didn't have him. I think there's better forward options out there. Do keep an eye on him. He doesn't have a price rise until next week. But there are a lot of people that have price rises next week, but he's one that you could probably fade. Matthew Jefferson scored a 41. Not someone that I would be overly, destroying my team over. Jacob Constantine was someone that I've been keeping an eye on all pre-season. I wrote an article about him as well. He scored a 74. He was a high draft pick. He was part of the Parker trade. Look, I actually rate the guy. I think that there's a lot of talent there. He finally made his debut, scored a 74. I don't hate it. I personally can't fit him in my team, purely because of his price. I would have preferred him over Aiden Johnson, but I just couldn't get that extra. I think it was like $1,000. I was off by like $1,000, which was really annoying. Definitely one to consider. But again, he has his price rise next week, and there's a lot of guys in the bubble next week. So if you are wanting to make a forward move, like a Pal Pepper, I don't mind bringing in a Constantine for a Pal Pepper. Like, this could be a play. This could really be a play. Going down, Max Hall was great. He's got DPP, scored a 74, kicked a goal, looked all right. He's in only 14% of teams. I would prefer Max Hall over a Constantine purely because of the DPP. But if you've already got Max Hall and you've got Pal Pepper or even a Tom Lynch, I don't mind Constantine. Angus Hasty has the role. He's a midfielder. I really like him. Again, he's one of those guys where I wouldn't be tearing my team apart, but I do like him. He's done enough, but only for a bench position. Liam O'Connell I have in my side as well. I don't think he's a bad downgrade option if Patton is not named and if Patton's not named, I don't mind going down to a Liam O'Connell. Did play a wing role and looked good. This is a guy that had 100% disposal efficiency from 8 disposals in the practice match. And then I think he had 7 disposals and had like almost a 90% disposal efficiency. So he gets 12 to 15 disposals, one game from a wing position. And he goes at 90% disposal efficiency and he kicks as well. He could have a spike game, and that could be really good for you. And he's going to cover you through the buys too. So, which is why I picked him. I rather a 28 than a 0. So I picked him for that reason alone. I never really ever want him to be in my best side, but I don't hate the role. I don't hate the position. If suddenly you've started a Patton and a league, and you don't have players playing in defense all of a sudden, I don't mind him as a downgrade option. Tom Hanley, he's on his bubble this week. He's got a 47. He's going to buy next week. I don't see the job security being there, so I'd be avoiding him. Archer Reed didn't have a great game. Does have the ruck forward DPP, but Harry Boyd is the better ruckman. You could have him in your forward line, but with so many better forward options out there, why would you go with Archer Reed? So he'd be a no for me. Elijah Hewitt didn't set the world on fire, but will get midfield time. They managed him. He will get more game time. He's only in 48% of teams. Definitely one to keep an eye on. But again, he doesn't actually go into his bubble until the week after. So if you are going to bring him in, I wouldn't be going early on someone with such poor injury history. Murphy Reed, he scored 4 goals to score a 50. It's a no for me. Liam Reedy scored 34. No for me. Patton on his bubble. If you didn't start him, I wouldn't be bringing him in. But also, if you did start him, keep an eye out, see what the team sheets say. I'm not going early on anyone, so as long as O'Connell's playing, I'll probably field him and just leave Patton on my bench, because I don't want to go early on anybody. I just don't. So I'm just going to keep, especially a guy that's on his bubble. Joe Berry did set the world on fire. Just leave him alone if you haven't started him. Connor O'Sullivan didn't set the world on fire, and I can see Colin Jasny coming back, so he doesn't have good job security. Corey Warner, I don't see having good job security either. Isaac Kako, job security's there, scoring necessarily isn't. He's in 72% of teams, which is actually fucked. Has the DPP, not a bad price. He will be a slow burn. Mitch Nevitt, if you haven't started him, actually do tear your team apart to get him. At 82, solid. Arthur Jones, a 10. Do not even consider him. I can't believe he's in 0.5% of teams. Oh my god. Xavier Lindsay, this is a guy that we should really be looking at for next week. 100%, 86. So the guys that I am seriously considering, the top rookies, that if you don't have these rookies, you should really be looking at them next week, and that is number 1. Number 1 is Mitch Nevitt, based on his price and his scoring potential. Okay? After that, you do have Nathan O'Driscoll. After that, you've got Levi Ashcroft, and then Xavier Lindsay. I think that those 4 midfielders are players that you need to have, and I only have 1 of those 4, which is a little concerning. But Finn O'Sullivan and Satsis could both go off the chain this week. Satsis only had like 50% of time on ground. Okay? His time on ground increases. His score should, in theory, increase as well. I can't see him having a bad game again. If he does, that's a quick trade to one of the 4 people that I named. Finn O'Sullivan had the role. He actually played in the half-back line. Looked kind of okay, but all his possessions are uncontested possessions, which is why I didn't want to fucking start the guy, but I got convinced to start him. And I didn't have him all pre-season. I had Nathan O'Driscoll all pre-season. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I started him. It is what it is. I'm going to wait the week and see what he does. But both of those guys, if you're considering trading him out, and I know a lot of people have already traded him out, I would very much rather wait the week, because the guy that you could bring in gets injured and these guys continue to play, and maybe they get a spike game. If you've started either Dan Curtin, who's got a 26, or Joe Hamling, I don't know why you'd start Joel Hamling. Poor job security, poor scoring. I'm not a fan. I don't like them at all. Robert Hansen Jr., 71, not in a lot of teams. Someone to keep an eye on, maybe. Tyler Dewar, nope. Yucky. Jackson Pryor actually has decent job security, I think. So the former Lion. Ethan Reed scored 100, not in a lot of teams. Off his bye this week. Maybe next week, or no, the week after. So he won't... he's played only one game. So he won't have a price rise next week. He'll have one the week after. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on the week after. Luke Cleary, no. Yucky. Lachlan O'Keefe, absolutely not. He played the game of his life. And Briggs is back the week after. Sam Powell-Pepper, yucky. Trade him out if you've got him. Harvey Langford started as the sub. If you're in the 14% of teams that own him, I actually prefer his teammate Lindsay. Steely Green did not deliver. Tom Lynch did not, and he looked really bad actually. He looked pretty average. I'm surprised he scored the 61 and he's suspended. Carl Warner, no. Sharp, Draper, Darcy Fort, no. Motlop, no. It's just, it really goes down. Ned Long is one that I am considering. However, his price rises this week. They have a bye next week, and then also I just want to point out, DeGoey's back this week, so his job security is not there. And the last rookie that we should be considering is Sam Laylor, who has only had 2 CBAs and did do really well. But again, with only 2 CBAs, he's still coming off a fractured face. I could see his scoring going up from here. He's only in 27% of teams. Definitely one to consider. However, any of your rookies that you have correcting, you're going to have to go up from to get Sam Lawler, which is frustrating. While that's the thing, because Sam Lawler you can go down from very easily, but now you're going to have to go up from him in order to get him, which is quite annoying when you're doing a rookie correction trade. So my personal opinion is, if you didn't start Lawler, I would be fading Lawler for the season. That's it. You've missed out. Sorry, you missed out on the best young talent there is this season. He's got the Rising Star all sewn up in a nice little bow. You may as well give him the award this week, because let's be honest, he's the best rookie option there is. Now, I did forget to ask for questions this week, so I'm going to do that next week, so I do apologise in advance. I just kind of forgot. I will do that next week. Now, Sam DeConning is someone that did get a lot. He's got 13,789 people that have traded him in. He's 361k. I don't trust Chris Scott. He's almost as bad as Bevo. Almost as bad as Bevo. I would not be trusting him. He could go back to fullback at any moment, and you would hate for him to be at fullback in your side. So when it comes to my trades this week, I did briefly mention that I will be making none. I have been... The last 2 years, I have been really burning through my trades early. I've been very reactive, and it has ultimately fucked me in the long term. I want to get a little bit more data. I don't see any urgency to trade any players. The only one I might consider trading out is Ben Patton and that is if he's not named, I might consider trading him out because he's got a bye next week. So if hypothetically he's not named, I could trade him out and then see what other options there are there, but I don't really like anyone, and I don't want to bring in Riley Bice because he's the only one that I can go down to just before his bye, so that doesn't seem intelligent to me. It just means I'll probably just go with whatever Liam O'Connell scores for the week. So I wouldn't be trading out Ben Patton unless he's in your forward line. If he's in your forward line, you have a lot of options. If he's in your forward line, yes, trade him out, but I don't have him in my forward line, so I'm not doing that myself. I have so many options to bring in Bailey Smith. I could cop an injury. For all we know, Adam Chera does a calf, and then I can easily go to Smith. Horn Francis shits the bed, then he's out of my team. Lockie Neal, we don't know what's going to happen this week, so I would very much rather wait and see. I've got 3 trades next week, which I can trade in. I could what's his name? The rookies that I said, Nathan O'Driscoll, as well as either Levi Ashcroft if I really wanted to as well, who can make me a lot of cash. I could trade them in for Finn O'Sullivan on Satsas if they don't do well. As well, I'm not phased. I actually, for once, I actually looked at my team, and even with Lockie Whitfield out, I can actually see myself scoring 150 more points, around my ground. Sheasel played okay. he played okay. He didn't play great. Clark didn't play great. Roberts didn't play great. You know, Patton and Trainer scored 43 and 50. Brayshaw didn't dominate. Neal didn't dominate. Oliver did okay. Chera didn't dominate. You know, O'Sullivan, Satsas, they didn't do great. Horn Francis didn't do great. Daniel didn't do great. You know, none of my rookies really popped off. You know, Nevitt, an 82 was my best rookie score on field. Like, there's room for improvement. I can see myself scoring 100 points, 150 points better this week without Whitfield, purely based on how many players underperformed that I can see going big. And sometimes you don't need to make a trade unless you have a shitload of players that you have missed. Then maybe you can trade early purely to get those guys in. But I wouldn't be doing it because, like I said last year, I traded in a guy early to get ahead of the competition. I was like, yeah, awesome, I'll bring in Caulfield because Gipkus is injured, and that means I'll have 3 trades the following week. Awesome. And then Caulfield gets injured long term, and you end up with Caulfield and Reed on your bench for the full season not playing, and it's just frustrating, and because you don't know what's going to happen. Okay, you don't know what's going to happen, so I prefer to hold my trades this week, even if Ben Patton doesn't play, and kind of see what happens. Next week, we've got more data, we kind of know what we're looking at, and then we can make probably better decisions, because this is a long-term game. It is not a quick, like, oh my god, I need to score really big this week in order to make ground, because you're going to make ground really fast, and then you're going to get to about midway through the year, you've burnt like most of your trades, and you've copped an injury now, and you have to trade that guy out. Maybe you cop another injury, and you haven't finished your side. You know, you're finishing your side with Ben Keys in your forward line, or a Hammy Himmelberg in defence, because you're not able to actually generate the cash that you need, or you don't have the trades in order to do the moves you actually want. So I will be holding this week, not really doing much. But one thing I am going to tell you is captain choices. Now, AFL, I did alf.com.au, afl.com.au. Let's take a look at some of the games this week. Now, I personally think there's only really 3 options this week for a captaincy, vice-captaincy choice, and that is on the Thursday night, Sam De Koning. Lloyd Meek made Sam Draper look like an absolute All-Australian winning ruckman. He looked really good, and Sam Draper's not a great ruckman. So I don't mind going with a sneaky VC with Sam De Koning on the Thursday night and just get your VC over and done with. But I personally am going a little different on this one, because I see the scoring potential being greater on the Saturday. So my vice captain is actually going to be in 3 games time. So I'm going to fade the Dogs and Collingwood. I don't like anyone from there. Maybe a Liberatore, actually. I wouldn't mind against the Pies. Saturday, Essendon, Adelaide. Don't really like anyone from this game. But Port Adelaide, Richmond. This is where I can see the massive score coming from. And that is Connor Rosie. Connor Rosie can go absolutely nuts. He's the captain. They've just come off a huge loss. They're sitting 18th. They're playing in Adelaide. He was not tagged last week. They actually opted to tag Horn Francis over him. Butters isn't playing. He's getting bulk CBAs. Honestly, the everything is aligning for him to have an absolute massive game, and he is my VC option as a result because of that. So I'm fading De Koning's score completely, purely because I think that the scoring potential from a Connor Rosie is so huge on the Saturday. And if it doesn't pay off, I think in 2 games' time we're going to get an even bigger score anyway, because Lachie Neale is not going to allow West Coast to do what James Jordan did to him. First of all, West Coast do not have a player to go with Lachie Neale like James West Coast look terrible, by the way. For a team that has been rebuilding for about 3 to 4 years, they look shit. Like, I can honestly see Richmond ending up above the Eagles this year. Really. Like, and that's not biased. They look garbage. And they've actually got an injection of senior experience in through guys like Baker and Graham. And I probably named their 2 best players from last weekend, by the way. they just looked horrible. And I don't see a bounce back from against the Lions at the Gabba. Honestly, Lachie Neale's going to tear them apart. So if hypothetically Connor Rosie doesn't go nuts, Lachie Neale's a great chance to go nuts. I honestly, yes, Josh Dunkley did amazing, but the likelihood of Josh Dunkley going 170 plus again, like 2 weeks in a row, is pretty low. I can see Lachie Neale really bouncing back here. The next game, Melbourne versus North Melbourne. Look, the only player that I would consider captaining from this game is Petrarca if you've got him. Oliver's record's great, but I could see Oliver going like 110 against North. I don't like anyone from Sydney Fremantle because we don't know which one of Sarong or Brayshaw are going to cop a tag. It will be one of them, if not both. Last year, both Sarong and Brayshaw actually both scored an 85. So they will both get attention from this one. So I don't like anyone from this game at all. Just avoid. So my top 3 captain choice of VC or top 4, I'm going to say, for the week is De Koning, Liberatore, Rosie, and Neale. If you've got one of those guys, they're the guys that I think are really going to pop off this week. And that's it, really. Good luck. I hope you guys have a great season. I'll be back same time, same place next week. Please make sure to like us on X. Give us a subscription on YouTube, Facebook. What else am I on? TikTok, Instagram. I'm on all those things. And I'll see you same time, same place next week. Thanks for watching.